Charles won't be able to be here today, Munya. He went to
Sorry?
Paris.
Oh,
Charles.
Charles, yes, he wrote to me. Yeah, he said that
Okay.
he will be in Paris this weekend. Yeah.
Mhm.
Good morning, my friends.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So it is our time. Let's elevate our thoughts to our Father, our Master Jesus, to our spiritual friends, asking for their assistance for another study, that this study could be helpful, not only to us, but to those that are possibly assisting even later. And let's enjoy our study once more. Will be it. Let me share the book with you all. Now we move this here. Just make it a little bit bigger. And here we go. Today we start in chapter 4 about theories. Before we talk about theories, as human beings that we all like to create theories about something. But we have to remember that a theory had to be supported by facts, by research, by results. Otherwise, it's not a theory, it's just an idea, what I wish for. So before we advocate in favor or against any theory or produce any theory of our own, we need to consider that we need to be thorough, we need to study, we need to do it, to have some practice within the subject, or at least to be fluent with the subject before we start to put ourselves in a shoes that we don't really want to be. Because what I think is something. To go to a level or degree to say that the theory is that, well, this is something else. Okay? When a strange phenomena of spiritism began to occur, or rather, when they began to occur in these later days, they engendered more doubt than anything as to their reality, and even more as to their cause. Interesting enough, today remains exactly the same. I do not see a difference between the 1800s and now. I see things happening in the same way. A lot of people having doubts, a lot of people talk about it without really knowing it, or a lot of people developing theories about something they don't really master it. When they were identified by irrefutable testimony and by experiments that anyone could conduct, the result was that everyone had their own way of interpreting them, according to their own personal ideas. I totally think it's fair enough to have your own perception, your own ideas, but it is our responsibility if we start to convince others about our own ideas, our beliefs, our prejudices. We need to be very careful, because if I convince or if I change someone's perception into what I believe is right, I am responsible for the outcome, even if I'm not the one driving it, but I was the one who started it. So we have a percentage of responsibility on the outcome. So we need to be very careful in what we preach, what we speak to, what we try to convince people to do, because we become ultimately responsible for it as well. Hence, numerous theories began to appear, which careful observation would reduce to their real worth. Spiritism adversaries soon saw in these differing opinions counter-argument, alleging that Spiritists themselves were unable to agree with one another. And it's still the same until today. Still the same until today. A lot of people speaking about a lot of things without knowing it. Haven't spent enough time to study the subject, without perform any exercise, without performing any tests. And people speak about things, and sometimes they don't have necessarily the experience to do so. It was very precarious reasons. However, when one considers the fact that the first few steps of any development science are necessarily uncertain until time enables the gathering and the coordinating of facts into a set opinions. As facts become complete and better observed, here we go. Observation is part of a science. We need to observe the results, and then with the theory, when I mean theory, I mean the study, the data that will endorse what we see, then we start to be a bit more comfortable in what we do. Premature ideas are set aside and unity of opinions is finally established, at least concerning the fundamental points, if not as to all the details. Such was also the case of Spiritism, which was unable to escape this common law, and which, due to its very nature, gave rise to even more to a diversity of interpretations. If we read the Medium's book, I'm not talking about study, read the Medium's book, we will interpret what is said in such a way. When we study alone the Medium's book, chances are that we will move away from our first interpretation. When we study in a group, again, chances are that the outcome of this group study will prove that when I was studying alone, I was not really capturing everything. When I study in a group with people with experience, with the practice, chances are that the way I see things will change again. And that's very natural. And that's why we strongly recommend everyone not to read once and start to build theories, but to spend time, study seriously, methodologically, with a decent group. When I mean decent, I mean people with experience, to talk about those subjects. That will build up our own experience after all. Nevertheless, we can state that in this sense, its advance has been much more rapid than of older sciences, medicine, for example, which still continues to divide the best scholars. To methodically follow a progressive order of ideas, it might be useful to investigate first the so-called negative theories. Do we all create negative theories about something? I'm pretty sure we do. This is human, right? i.e., those proposed by adversaries of Spiritism. I don't need to be an adversary of Spiritism to build negative theories. The only thing I need is to be outside of my comfort zone. So then I will start to try to convince others that we need to come back to the way we always been. We have already refuted such objections both in the introduction and conclusion of the Spirit's book, as well as in the shorter work entitled What is Spiritism? Thus, it would not be worthwhile to return to the subject in full here, and we will limit ourselves in summarizing in a few words the reason upon which the objections are based. There are two types of spirit phenomena: those involving physical effects and those involving intelligent effects. Nowadays, it's rare to find physical effects. It's still happening, but it's rare. We don't see every day. On intelligent effects, if we are interested in such, we can be, I will not say easily, depending where you are, but you can be in touch with such a phenomenon. Since they do not believe in the existence of spirits, they do not believe in anything apart from matter. It is understandable that these adversaries of Spiritism would also deny the intelligent effects. As for the physical effects, they comment on them from their own point of view, and their arguments can be summed up in 4 following theories. The charlatanism theory. Among the antagonists, many attribute the physical effects to fraud due to the fact that some of them may be imitated. This in the 1800s. What about today with AI, with everything we have? So physical effects today would be compromised. I wouldn't say that word, but will be very difficult to convince anyone of its reality. As example, today, when you open up your cell phone and you see Instagram, TikTok, things like that, it's hard to know which video is real, which video is not real. And sometimes we don't know anymore. We cannot tell anymore. So it's very easy nowadays to fake something using computers. So a physical phenomena could be easily imitated using the technology we have today. The supposition would turn all spirits into dupes and all mediums into charlatans, without even consider these individuals' status, character, wisdom, or unhonorability. If it deserves any kind of response at all, we would counter that some of the phenomena of physics have also been imitated by stage magicians, which proves nothing against the real science. Moreover, there are persons whose character dismisses any suspicion of fraud, suspicions of fraud, and one would have to be completely lacking in good manners and civility to dare to tell them to their face that they are accomplices of charlatanism. That's why it's important when we start to show interest in some mediumship activities or mediumistic activities, to know with whom we are getting with, to know if the person is responsible, is true, if the person is part of an institution that's also respectable, things like that, because we don't know. We could be misled easily into a direction that may not be that safe. In one respectable meeting place, a gentleman who regarded himself as well-mannered made observation of such a kind, and the hostess said, "Sir, if you're not satisfied, you can get your money back at the door." Talk about that later. And she pointed to the door, implying that it would be best for him to do so. Should we affirm that there have never been abuses? No, we cannot. If so, we would have to believe that humans are perfect. Instead, they abuse everything, even what is most sanctified. Then, why would some not also abuse Spiritism? But the fact that something can be used wrongly is no reason for the one prejudice for one to prejudice prejudice unfavorably. We can determine the good faith of others by motives behind their actions. Where there is no profit to be made, there is no motive for charlatanism. I used to say that everywhere you go, that something related to Spiritism is connected to money. You need to be very careful, very careful. Anywhere you relate mediumship with money, go away from there. Don't try to understand. There's nothing there that you will benefit from it, in my opinion. Again, in my opinion. For example, what we study here. Can anyone use what we study here to do anything else that we don't agree? Of course, yes. The Medium's book is not just for me, for the Spiritist. The Medium's book is a manual to those who are intending to get in touch with the spiritual world in a safely way. If someone decides to use what is there for something that we do not agree, it's beyond our control. Nevertheless, if the person uses what Caldas is saying is a safe method, is already something positive, in my opinion. The madness theory. Out of condescension, some dismiss any suspicion of fraud and assert that those who are not fooled by others are nonetheless victims of self-deception, which is equivalent to calling them imbeciles. But when these believers are less tactful, they frankly state that it's a simple case of madness, unceremoniously attributing to themselves the sole privilege of sanity. This is the main argument of those who can come up with no better reason. Let's paint a picture here. We go to a mediumship meeting with 10 people around a table, and everybody is saying something that, or are pretending to say something that are not themselves. Are we considering that these 10 people gathering together, they are gathering together for a period of time so they can express their madness together? Some people may think like that, but it would be a very strange coincidence to have 10 people with psychological problems into a serious meeting doing so, right? So, but I'm not saying it cannot happen, but would be strange. Moreover, this form of criticism is proven foolish by its own frivolousness, and it does not deserve the time that would be wasted in refuting it. Besides, the Spiritists are hardly affected by it. They courageously follow their path, consoled by the thought that they have many people of uncontestable merit as their companions in misfortune. In fact, one would have to admit that this madness, if it may be regarded as such, display a particular characteristic. It seems to show a preference for reaching the most enlightened class of individuals, whom Spiritism presently counts as being by far the majority of its adherents. If amongst them there are few eccentrics, they pose no more than a threat against Spiritism than do religious fanatics against religion, melomaniacs against music, mathematical maniacs against mathematics. All systems have their fanatics, and one would have to be very obtuse to confuse the exaggeration of system with the system itself. For a broader treatment of the issue, we would prefer the reader to the booklet. What is Spiritism, or the Spirit's Book, section 15 of the introduction. The hallucination theory, another opinion, which is less offensive because it has a scientific nuance, entails attributing the phenomena to an illusion of senses. Thus, observers might be of good faith, but they see something that is not really there. When they see a table rise and remain suspended in the air without any visible support, it means that the table did not actually move. Let's go back on the 1800s, where we have no notion of what we do nowadays, and we would see a table lifting in the air. What would be our reaction? None, by the way. Right? No one had any reaction with what I'm talking, so I guess in front of the table, flying would be the same.
No, I think I would be, yeah, if I didn't know anything, skeptical about it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think we all would have the same reaction. You know. They see, well, a lot of us would run away as well, by the way. Right? Let me just do something here. Good. They seeing in the air is due to an illusion of some kind of refractory effect, like that which make us see in the water a reflection of a star or some other object that appears to have been dislocated from its true position. That may be possible, but those who have witnessed this particular phenomenon are able to affirm that the table really was suspended because they were able to walk underneath it, which would have been quite difficult if it had not been actually left the ground. Additionally, many times after having been raised, the table breaks when it hits the floor. Could there also be an optical illusion? Well, recognized physiological cause may undoubtedly make us see something turn which is not actually moving at all, or make us feel as though we are spinning when in fact we are standing still. However, when several persons are gathered around a table that is pulled by a movement that is so rapid that it is difficult to follow, some are even knocked down, could they have suddenly been overcome with a vertigo like a drunkard who believes he sees his house pass right in front of him? I don't think we have anything to comment here. I think it's so obvious. The crackling tendon theory. If such were the case, when the sense of sight, you would be no different with hearing. But when all the raps are heard by an entire group, they cannot reasonably be attributed to an auditory illusion. Also, we have dismissed the whole notion of fraud, since attentive observation has proven that there was no fortuitous or material cause involved. If you want to ascertain that we have no tricks behind any phenomena, ideally we would ensure that the place where we are expecting this phenomenon to happen have been inspected, protected, isolated, so then would give us a little bit more certitude of the phenomena we are watching. It is true that a learned physician has given a peremptory explanation for the matter according to his own opinion. The cause results from the voluntary or involuntary contractions of the muscle tendon of the fibula. And with respect to the subject, he used the most complete anatomical minutiae to demonstrate the mechanism for producing this crackling noise, to imitate the beating of a drum, and even to perform rhythmic areas. Thus, he concluded that those who hear the raps from the table are victims of either a hoax or an illusion. This fact in itself is nothing new. Unfortunately, for the author of that alleged discovery, his theory cannot explain away all the cases. First, let us state that those who are gifted with the strange ability to make the tendons of the fibula or any other tendon crackle at will and play musical arias are exceptional creatures, while making tables crackle is quite common, and those who have that ability rarely have the ability to do the other. Second, the learned doctor forgot to explain how the crackling tendon of a person who is motionless and at the same distance from the table can produce vibrations that may be sensed by the touch. How the crackle can be heard by the participants at will and in various areas of the table, in other furniture, in walls, in the ceiling, etc. How finally the action of the tendon can extend to a table that is not being touched at all and make the move by itself. Besides, if this theory really explained anything at all, it would only invalidate the rap phenomenon. But would not apply to all the other modes of communication. Consequently, we conclude that its author has judged without having seen, or without having seen everything sufficiently. It is always lamentable that in addressing a subject they are unfamiliar with, scientists hurry to give explanation that the facts themselves believe. Their own knowledge should make them more circumspect in their judgment, especially when such knowledge broadens the boundaries of the unknown. How many times we are in face of something in a mediumship meeting that we start to create our own theories? It happens. How many times we start to judge someone having or pretending to have some phenomena or be part of some phenomena? It's the same. Sometimes we are too quick to judge, to evaluate, and we do not possess sufficient information to do so. And we see that very, well, not every day, but we see quite often this kind of situation. We need to be careful not to do so. The physical cause theory. From this point on, we will leave behind the theories of absolute denial. Having admitted the reality of the phenomena, the first thought that naturally occurred to those who witnessed them was to attribute the movements to magnetism, electricity, or the action of some kind of fluid, i.e., to an exclusive material and physical cause. There was nothing unreasonable about this theory, and it would have prevailed if the phenomena had been limited to purely mechanical effects. A circumstance that even seemed to corroborate in certain cases was the increase in the phenomena's power because of the number of individuals present in that. Each of them could be seen as an element of a human electric battery. As we have already stated, what characterizes a true theory is its ability to explain all the facts. If one single fact contradicts it, it is because it is wrong, incomplete, or too rigid. which is what applied in this case. The movements and raps revealed signs of intelligence in that they obeyed a will and respond to thought. Thus, they had to have an intelligent cause behind them. And since the effect ceased to be mere physical, the cause itself had to be something other than physical. So basically, a physical effect has to have an intelligent force behind that. It does not happen only because, well, because of the wind, like, you know. You do have to have some intelligence promoting the phenomena, which is what applied in this case. The movements and raps revealed signs of intelligence in that theory obeyed and will respond to thought. Therefore, the theory of an exclusive action by a material agent was abandoned, and now only surfaces among those who make an a priori judgment without having seen anything. Hence, the crucial point to arrest to an intelligent action, a point that can convince whomever wants to make the effort to observe. You are very quiet today. The reflection theory. Once it was recognized that an intelligent action was involved, the source of the intelligence still had to be determined. It was, though, that it might be the intelligence of the medium or the participants themselves, which was then reflect like light or sound waves. This was quite possible, and only experience would finally be able to provide the last word on the matter. Before long, however, we noticed that this theory was completely removed from any purely materialistic idea in order for the intelligence of the participants to be reproduced indirectly. It would be necessary to admit the existence in human beings of a principle that was independent of the organism. Now, Caldas is presenting many ways to evaluate things we see. We stop. Let me rephrase that. When we are kids, when we are very young, we used to use, in an impressive rate, the word why. We would ask why for everything. Why? Why? Why is that? No, why? Mom, why? We all did that. But as we grow up, we stop to use this. We start to feel ashamed of asking. And Caldas is showing to us that we can ask ourselves, we can ask others. We need to understand what is going on. But if we don't ask, we won't get an answer. And then become a circle, because we don't ask, we start to accept anything anybody say as true, and we start to bring them as a part of a cycle. So I strongly advise everyone to go back to the younger age and start to ask more often why for things. If the thought that was expressed were always that of the participants, the reflection theory could be confirmed. But even reduced to such a proportion, wouldn't the phenomena be of greatest interest? Wouldn't it be remarkable if, though could resound within an inert object and translate itself into motion and sound? Wouldn't there be something about it that might arouse the curiosity of scholars? Then Why do those who exhaust themselves searching for a nerve fiber disdain this subject so much? As we have stated, only experience could provide the last word concerning this theory, and experience has disproved it instead. Because in each instance, and by the most positive facts, it has shown that the thought thus expressed might not only be foreign to the thought of the participant, but is often completely contrary to it. This contradicts all preconceived ideas and frustrates all expectations. In fact, when I think white but receive black in response, I cannot believe that the response is actually my own. Some opponents find support in case where he thought that is expressed and the thought of the participant are identical. But what does that prove except that the participants can think like the communicating intelligence? One of the questions that we hear frequently, especially of mediums that are beginning to exercise their mediumship, is that I'm not sure if it was me or if it was not me. Am I right to say that? Yeah. And some people even stopped to develop their mediumship because they found that so overwhelming that they are not continuing the exercise. Why we don't ask those questions? Why we are not thorough enough to evaluate, well, I like white, but it's coming black, things like that, you know? But we see that very often in meetings, when we call experimentation meetings, where we are giving voice to beginners that I'm not sure it's me, you know, I'm embarrassed or not embarrassed, it doesn't matter. It's a shame that we lose a great opportunity. There's a hand. Hi, Denise.
Hi. So I see there's lots and lots of different theories. So he come up with theory about must have been like the criticism that he received from the people around him, yeah, to come back to create all these theories, because there's lots, and you know, it's quite interesting just how, you know, like explanation for probably every time that someone criticizes, or like, because I mean looking, I'm reading now all the like the magazines, and there's lots of like replies. Sometimes they reply when there's an article talking about how that could be fake. So I think that he may have created these theories based on all the feedback he used to come back like with the people around him. Because there's so many theories. It's just like amazing how you can think about all of that.
Well, I think he is a compendium where he's gathering what he saw more often.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it was just based in one event.
No, yeah,
but
of
when he
course.
saw a lot of events going in the same direction, a lot of people thinking there was charlatanism, a lot of people think, you know, and then was worthwhile to mention it. But I also believe that not all theories are here. I think there's more, because every human being will create his own theory about something, you know. He just brought to us what was more common amongst those that decide not to believe and express themselves. Because there's also a situation we have, I don't know how many people are here, but let's say we have 10 people here in this room. It's very possible that few people do not believe or do not agree with what we say, but won't say anything, you know. So I think here is what was more present at the time. And looking to what he mentioned, I think is still present until today.
Yeah, that was going to be my other point. I like the way that, because before I said, oh, like the hallucination theory, don't believe, doesn't have so much, but I like the way that the reflection theory, how you connect that to what still happened today. But you're right, yeah, it's still.
Yeah. And we also have to think that Kardec was receiving a support, incredible support.
Yeah.
So chances are that what he was seeing at the time was not just for his time. That was also for our time.
Yeah.
Right? Because we did not change. And perhaps we were there at that time as well. So we just came back, we still have that same conviction we had before, and we're just expressing ourselves in a different way. Yeah.
Thank you. Then.
We do not mean that they must always be different from each other. During a conversation, when the person you are speaking with express a thought similar to your own, do you say that his or her thoughts had come from you? It only requires a few contrary and well-proven examples to show that this theory is incomplete. Furthermore, how can one use the thought reflection theory to explain the writing produced by persons who do not even know how to write? Responses of the highest philosophical reach expressed through illiterate individuals, answers given to mental, non-verbal questions or formulated in a language unknown by the medium, or 1,000 other facts that can leave no doubt as to the independence of the manifesting intelligence. Any contrary opinion could only result from a deficient observation. I'm going back to something I was talking minutes ago. Why I don't trust that I'm having my communication? Do you think that you're that sick that every time you will invent something different just to be there? Hi, Camila.
I would like to make a question, right? Like he put there that the medium is spoke languages that he doesn't know, right? We know that it's possible, that it can happen, whatever. But then I think the medium need to be more mechanical. The phenomena with the medium need to be very mechanical, right? Cannot be intuitive, because the medium would not be able to have any kind of intuition and expressing words if they don't know.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. I know a situation where a medium start to hear some gibberish words, and eventually he allowed that gibberish words to be pronounced, and then he continued a conversation in that gibberish language. I'm calling gibberish because I don't understand anything that was said. So that was not mechanic. That was intuitive. Start as intuitive and then follow the normal flow of any communication, any language, So no, not necessarily. And the medium, he had the conscience of what was happening. So it's not mechanical. Mechanical communications, and there's a lot of people say, I'm a mechanical. I never met one over these years, and he's a rare type of medium, to be honest. It's because they do not understand what a mechanical means. Mechanical means when you do not know nothing at all that's going on. You have no control of your hand, you don't know what is producing, you don't know the language, you don't know nothing. And it can happen as well on psychophony. It can happen in different ways, I'm not sure if I answered your question, but
So to be 100% mechanical, the medium needs to lose completely the control of the situation, right? It's like
That's a good way to present, yes.
always has some part can be mechanical in some degree.
Semi-mechanical is common.
Yeah.
Hi, Patricia.
I have seen a mechanical, fully mechanical, the person going to a trance and they don't have any recollection at all. And there is from Florencio Anton, that he does the mediumistic paintings. And he explains that he gets into a trance and he does not remember absolutely anything.
Yeah, I've seen videos. I never saw face-to-face any mechanic medium. I saw videos, for example, the Dr. Fritz interventions. The medium was out. The spirit of the medium was dormant during all those situations. But I never saw myself. I know they exist, but they're not common. They are not common. Hi, Rosalie.
When you talk about Lorenzo Anton, I was in Denmark, in Copenhagen, Copenhagen. And I was the first grade of line of chairs, and I saw there he was there with that two person on one side and another side, one help with prevention, the another with, and it was amazing because I remember so nothing, so I never forget. I think the many painter, Renoir, Gauguin, and I think so. I hope to come now, Monet, because I love Monet. I love everybody, artists, impressionism, but I love Monet. And I think, oh, I hope at come Monet. Can you think at the hand left? So with his head, so to me, so me, and he said, yes, I like very much me too, my painter. So, I know it was Monet, answer me. I heard my thank you, my thank you, and I thank you. And he answered that. So he is a mechanic, very mechanic practice. So thank you.
Thank you. So we go here. If the presence of an outside intelligence is mentally proven by the nature of the response, it is physically proven by the phenomenon of direct writing. Direct writing means, does anyone here remember what is the direct writing?
The medium is not involved directly.
Okay, good. I.e., writing that is produced spontaneous without a pen or a pencil, without being, you're not even reading. Was there? My God. Produces spontaneous without a pen or pencil, without being touched, and in spite of all the precautions taken to avoid any kind of trickery. In general, when they did that test, they get a piece of paper and they lock inside a drawer. And on the end of the meeting, they opened the drawer and there was a message written in the paper. Hi, Camille.
That is quite scary, right? It's
Why?
very scary because okay, has these very rare phenomena, right? That we read, like the same ones about transportations, right? So I think it's very scary because when I think that the spirits can manipulate the energies, so of course it's not any spirit is very right. It's here for them as well, right? But they can produce something or move something. I don't know. For me it's scary because they start. Okay, they can do more harm to us in our thoughts, maybe than moving energies and materialize things. But it's the same way. I don't know. For me, it's very scary when I think about that.
Maybe, maybe, but I see any mediumistic phenomena as natural, and it's not going to be like any spirit will be able to do everything, and you need to have a certain degree of facts put together to make it happen. So, yeah.
Maybe because if he's incarnated, right? You lock the door, right? So you know that the thief don't go inside of your house, right? When it's spirits, you don't have control about anything, right? You know
But
that they go inside of your house. And they start to be more, I don't know, more
but there
more
there
crazy to think
there
so.
there are ways that you can protect your house.
No, yes, with the thought, with the praise, whatever, right? No, has phenomena that I already saw, like things flying away with no wind, no nothing, right? Because it has a person or things like that. But these things like change, right, without pain, is very spectacular. I don't know how to say. It's
Did you never had a TV starting without you pressing the remote control?
that yes. When I was a kid, my grandmother, my grandfather, the house that they live was for all life mainly was a haunted house, right? In a point that others from that go there listing the things as well, not only me or my aunt or whatever, right? It was so the phenomena was so frequent and so the extension was so big that people that go there just say, what is this noise, right? Like I'm listening people, I'm listening things moving. And anyway, okay, my father wants to say for his girlfriend, no, that is fine, it's the spirits there. What? No, they stopped. At some point, they stopped. Was so strong that others also listening, right? Like outsiders, not only. Uh, so I have. I don't know if you say fortunately or more unfortunately, the the experience to see things very, very, very strange like that, right? Things moving and all this stuff, right? But but the thing is there, right? The square is in the wall before flying
There,
away.
there's always a reason behind the phenomena.
Yeah.
You need to understand why it's happening, how it is happening, and then things start to be natural. You start to understand. Have you ever thought that the cause of those phenomena were you?
I don't know if it was me.
No, but I'm not saying it is.
Yeah,
I'm saying,
I don't think.
I'm not saying it's you, but could have been you. Could have been someone else. Could have been someone not even in the house, but next to the house. So why I'm saying that? Sometimes not even the person inside the house is part of what's going on, because the medium is nearby and It's not even part of their house, their family, you know. So there's a lot of things we need to consider when evaluating such a thing, you know.
Yeah.
But everything is natural.
No, everything is natural for sure, but some natural
Scary,
things is
scary
scary.
natural, right? It's scary natural.
Can be
Okay.
natural, but it's scary. For me, at least, I'm silly.
All right, let me try to finish here this item then, before you start to be more scared. The intelligent character of this phenomena cannot be put in doubt. Thus, there is more than simple fluidic simple fluidic action involved. Moreover, the spontaneity of the thought that is expressed independently of all expectations and apart from any formulated question prevent it from being seen as a reflection of the participant's thoughts. The reflection theory is quite unflattering in certain cases. When a group of honest individuals in a meeting unexpectedly receives a grossly revolting communication, attributing it to one of them would be committing a serious indelicacy, and everyone would no doubt promptly repudiate the notion. A couple of minutes, I can say that. A lot of mediums in the beginning, when they see communication that is like what was described here by Kardec, start to be afraid of being judged. If this type of spirit is coming through me, sort of, is because I'm like them. I don't want to be seen like that. I don't want to be having people thinking that I am on that degree of whatever, you know. And this is not like that. When we start to work as a medium, we are, and I like to use that a lot, we are like a tube. And that's all. The information comes from one end and leaves from the other end. It does not reflect that the tube is equal to the message that you're passing through. Sometimes people start to be concerned about that. And then from time to time, I like to mention, because the degree of communication coming through a medium does not reflect the moral status of the medium or what he or she likes to do. Okay, this is something that we need to be always remembering, because sometimes people abandon the activity because they were afraid of it. So I'm not going to start another item because 3 minutes to go. So I'll pass now to Pablo, because now Pablo has been elected as the person that will do the prayer.
Official one.
Official one, of course.
Okay, my friends. As we do every Saturday, we dedicate these few last minutes to picture in our minds our brothers and sisters in need, incarnate and discarnate. As we see the world seeming to be going downhill with all this war, with inequalities, with people not having access to basic needs, let us ask our Father to help us to reach out to all of them, to give them some comfort in their hearts. If we cannot always act materially, let us act in thoughts, prayer, intention, vibrations. We are all brothers and sisters, so let's look after one another. And let us ask our Father that this moment, while we share love, can get to them, touch them, and give them comfort and strength to go through all the hard times, the difficulties that are so hard to bear alone. So let's share love, care, and ask our Father to share light. Thank you. So be it.
Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to see you next week.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.